Welcome back everyone to Aurelia. This is episode 3. In the last episode, in the second one, we have built that office area inside that interchange. And today we are going to take a look at this train station and do some structures around it. I would really like to build some kind of a plaza around it, as well as some kind of a tram station to form some kind of a main public transport hub or something like that. Alright, so I kind of started with those trams. At first I thought that I would create like a really big underground, well, sunken but visible tram station, like a tram hub. But I later decided that I'm actually going to do just a simple single track, and maybe I'm going to do some bus terminal in the future as well, probably on the other side of the train station. So I had an idea to build some kind of a tram sunken station for kind of a long time in here, and this actually proved to be a really good area for it. So I wanted to create like a sunken area that's going to be covered with glass, and there's going to be like a shopping gallery maybe, so that there's going to be different levels for the citizens of the city. There's probably going to be the lower level over here with maybe like shops and maybe some office buildings, and on the upper level it's going to be kind of reserved for maybe traffic or some big office buildings and so on. So as you can see, I use the elevated road on the side there, and then I put all these buildings kind of underneath it. I have seen already before that cars in this game, or buildings rather, are completely fine with being built or, well, positioned close to an elevated road, and cars, all kinds of service vehicles will get to it. So it doesn't really matter. Obviously you can't build it to that road, you have to build it somewhere else and move it to it. Now at this point, I think that this is actually the point when, on the live stream at least, I decided that I really want to push some futuristic feel for the city, because it was just a few days after the additive shader mod was released, I think it's called that, and together with that perfect looking futuristic building, which is the Forge Industries. And as soon as I downloaded it, I had to position it somewhere where it would be, visible, so some kind of a plaza or, just some kind of a nice detailed area. So I decided that I'm going to put it right next to the train station, and I'm going to build around it some kind of a plaza. I also wanted to build like a pond, although I was not really sure how to do that, but we'll get to it later. Also, at this point I downloaded these network stairs, and I think that actually at this point on the live stream, because this is the footage from the live stream before the structures we done in the second episode, and it was at this point where I really wanted to push for network structures a lot, like stairs and all the retaining walls and all those kinds of networks. So as you can see, I'm building the Forge Industries in some kind of a sunken area a bit, and building those stairs to it. Now in here I wanted to start building some kind of a pond, or like a little pool, whatever you might call it, and I was really not sure how to do that. So I decided that I'm going to use these canals, and later I'm just going to detail around them. I'm basically just going to use them as like buckets full of water inside the ground, and I'm going to just detail it around so it's not really visible that it's the canal structure in there. So I kind of didn't really have any particular idea about this place before I started building it. So I was just positioning some stairs, kind of getting like a rough idea of what this place might be, and just positioning some network roads around it. Now this, positioning the water source inside that little pond, took me actually a really long time. Might have taken me like half an hour at least, because I was not exactly sure how to do it. Also, apparently, I'm not sure if it's just park life or it was like that even before, but the water sources cannot be put below the ground level, so you can't really put it inside the canal. You have to like make the canal go underground like a lot, move it, and then position the water source and then bring up the canal back. And then you have to kind of fine tune it, so obviously you get the water level that you want there. So as you can see, I'm trying to build like a 2-level plaza in here. The first level is going to be, well, actually 3-level plaza, I suppose. The first level is going to be the road level, the asphalt road level, which is on the top. Then we are going to have the level where the Arkforge Industries building is, and then this bottom level where the pool is with all those nice walk paths. By the way, these walk paths are from Park Life, I believe, the elevated ones with the grapevines on the side. They look very, very nice. Also, at this point, I was not really using procedural objects, so some of the surfaces I actually reworked, and I think it's going to be shown at the beginning, at the end of this video. So at this point, I just wanted to create the place a bit more detailed. I just wanted to place all these retaining walls on the sides and kind of decorate it, put some surfaces there, and just make it look all right. Also, while I'm doing the surfaces in here, I should probably mention that there might be some inconsistencies in the recording footages for these episodes. Like I already mentioned, some of the episodes, some of the recordings for certain episodes are not exactly in chronological order as I built the city, because I kind of have a bad habit of just jumping between projects if I don't really feel like building one particular area. So in some of these recordings, you might see in the background some stuff that's not exactly in the city just yet, or was not shown in the episodes. So that's fine, that's fine. It's just that these recordings, some of them at least, are made from different states of the city. But don't worry, I'm going to be showing absolutely everything in these episodes, and especially in the end cinematics in every episode, I am only going to show what was built during that episode, all right? So it makes a bit more sense in these videos. So as you can see, I'm using the networks already quite generously over here for the retaining walls and stuff like that. Now, at this point, I was actually not using the tree snapping mod, I believe it's called. So for all these bushes and decorations, like, you know, tree decorations or green decorations, I had to use props and props only. So I could bring them up using Move It and snap them to those fake surfaces. But later I actually reworked all those decorations because I did not exactly feel like I want to use the prop bushes absolutely everywhere. It kind of looked very monotone in this particular area. So I later reworked that, yeah, together with the surfaces using the procedural objects as well. Also, I got rid of the idea, at this point, I got rid of the idea of having like a big tram transport hub at this area. I got rid of that little tram side on that on the side of the pond, because actually for a practical reason as well, because it was getting flooded all the time, even though no water was really visible on the road, but it always showed the flooded sign. Actually, there's going to be a bit more issues. I'm not sure if I'm going to show that in this video or in some next videos, but the pond really gave me a big headache because sometimes it flooded the entire tram station and all the buildings got submerged and destroyed. So that sometimes happened. Little accidents. Actually, no, just happy mistakes, right? Anyway, we are building some kind of a connection, pedestrian connection in here to that train station. The train station. I used the elevator building again, and yeah, that's almost what I was talking about, the flooding problems, but these were actually kind of fine. So I was building some connections to the surface in here, and that's very important. Like I said many times before, I definitely want this city to be working, so I need to provide all the connections and all the places that people might use. So this tram station down here, I just used it's like a simple tram tracks without the road, and then I put the what it's called, a stone marble walk, maybe, I'm not sure how it's called, on the side of it, right next to it, and at that one position I built an intersection. It created the asphalt surface, which kind of actually fits the place, and I put the crosswalk in there to just make it more nice. Now the area between this place and the intersection area that we built in the last episode is going to be part of the next episode, episode 4. As you can see here, we are having some residential buildings in the background that I did not exactly show during this episode yet, but I will show them in the next one. All right, so don't worry, don't worry. I'm not skipping out on anything in here, at least not yet. Okay, so we had to cover the entrance, the underground entrance for that tram networks in here, as you can see. And you can see on the side there another pedestrian surface exit as well. So I'm just doing some final decorations here, final detailing for this tram stop. Just putting down some walls to kind of cover some ugliness on the sides there, some terrain, and then putting down some of these planters, kind of making sure that they are not in the way of the pedestrian paths. I was not exactly sure where the pedestrians are anymore because they are obviously a bit hidden underneath all this concrete. So yeah, I just try to make it nice down here. So this is almost done. The underground, well, sunken tram station is almost done. I was just doing these trees over here. Kind of try to be as colorful as possible, I suppose, because the place kind of needs it. Well, not doesn't need it, but it looks nice. It looks nice. So these trees, the pink trees, and all these flowers. And then the last thing that we needed to do for this particular area was to cover it with the glass. I suppose it's kind of important to always start from the bottom and then go up. I was not exactly doing that in the last episode. I was just building underneath the roads, and it kind of was not exactly that easy. And there we go. So that is the result of that little tram station. I will be actually doing multiple of these stations in the city. I already built another one, which is very, very similar, although slightly different in some kind of a residential area. But I'm pretty sure that this theme of like a glass covered sunken tram stations is going to follow. And this is almost what I was talking about before, those flooding issues. I decided that I want to make that pond a bit bigger. But the way water works in this game is that it's usually going to flow into one area, and it's just going to like bounce off the obstacles at the end of that and just, you know, go back and flood everything in its path. So it's not exactly all that easy to work with these canals and do any changes and things like that. Now, I've been actually having a lot of problems with these canals apparently, and I'm not sure if I'm going to show that in the next videos, probably not, but I was doing some experiments with these canals. I wanted to make like a tiered, like a pond in this place, and then I actually found out that canal walls don't stop water, and I flooded the entire place and destroyed most of the buildings that are below the water level here. So that was quite unfortunate, and I later decided that I'm actually not going to do that approach that much in this place. Even though I will in the future do some kind of a tiered pond area, but it's gonna be quite like far away from each other, the individual tiers, I mean. So in here, like I said, I made that little pond down here, the first level of the pond, a bit bigger, and kind of trying to decorate around it. It's not exactly symmetrical, it doesn't really follow any particular pattern, it's just how I felt like I wanted to have it in here. I think I wanted to at first create like a really long straight pond going from that Akruas Industries building and maybe make like museums on the sides or all kinds of like concert halls and all that. But I actually did that to some degree, but bit on a lesser scale, I suppose. So right now in here we are just doing some final detailing, final decorations, putting down some procedural objects, actually making the pond a bit bigger still. But I do believe that we are going to change it a bit more. Actually, no, this is the final position of that of the first layer of the pond, I suppose, and it's going to stay like this. It's going to have the pedestrian paths all around it. And later in the next episodes, I think, although I'm not sure if it's going to be exactly in the next one, we are going to build some kind of a similar looking plaza to what we built right next to the Akruas Industries building. And we are going to build it on the other side of the pond, on the other end of this pond area. So this is almost what I was talking about. I'm not sure if this is a museum building or a concert hall or something, but I put it next to the pond, and I wanted to put a bit more on the other side of the pond, but later I decided I'm going to do some residential area over there. So creating this building kind of elevated above the Arcforge level, I suppose I could call it, and creating some kind of a nice detailed entrance to it. I had to kind of hide some features of the building, like for example the parking lots. I had to make them go underground underneath this place, so they are going to be kind of invisible. Parking lots are usually kind of difficult to work with when they already are present in a building that you want to place somewhere and detail around it. So you kind of need to take special care to delete it somehow. Unfortunately, you can't really do it with, for example, a prop it up mod or something like that. You need to either cover it completely or get rid of them in the asset editor, which is obviously not something you want to do all the time for all the buildings. Alright, so like I said, doing some final detailings around here, making sure that all the levels are nicely connected and all that kind of stuff. In here, I'm finally finalizing the 3 stairs that are going from the first ground level into the first sunken level, I suppose, and then putting these planters in here, which are not really having any particular purpose in here, just kind of breaking the big shape, the big space that is taken by all these stairs. And it's going to be nicely decorated with some flowers and trees, I think. So it's just going to look better than having just those plain, boring, monotone stairs in there. Now, the last thing I had to do in here was to make the entire area actually functional. And that means putting all the pedestrian connections between all the different tiers and levels in here. And I had to do that by using invisible pedestrian paths. Now, that is not exactly all that easy to do. First, you need to take probably some kind of a visible road. For example, in here, I'm doing the elevated simple pedestrian path, the vanilla one, and then just using Move It to kind of make it fit to the stairs. Now, that's not exactly easy because you can't even build, even with fine road anarchy, you can't even build very short segments for these roads. So I'm kind of building like a weird shape and then just putting it in position with Move It. So as you can see, I'm putting it into the right position and kind of making sure that people are looking all right when walking around this place. So they are not clipping through the stairs, at least not that much, because you can never make it like completely perfect. And this is actually looking all right. People are using these paths quite fine. So I was just doing some fine tuning still and it was done. So just visible path, converting it into the invisible path because obviously I can't really see it anymore, which is the point. Alright, so this was the 3rd episode of Aurelia. I hope you liked it. If you just found this series, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and goodbye.